Hello everyone, this is Marco and welcome back to my channel. Today is the day. Yes, it is time for that video. When I released that video where I turned the Hammond Collection Allosaurus into the BARYONYX, where I almost got crazy. Who am I kidding? I actually went crazy that day. I promised you I would not waste the body of this BARYONYX and turn it into something else. But then the Jurassic World Rebirth trailer came out and of course we had to talk about that, and this video got kind of pushed to the back. But anyway, about that BARYONYX video, if you want a quick refresher, well, this is the carnage that ensued. We got a Hammond Collection Allosaurus and just ripped it apart. We got rid of its feet, got rid of its head, and then I decapitated... Wait, can I say that on YouTube? Well, I unheaded the Epic Attacks BARYONYX head so we could use that head onto the Hammond Collection Allosaurus because I like him big. I wanted a really big BARYONYX because I love BARYONYX. But about 10 minutes into making that project, I realized I bit off more than I could chew. So to make my life a bit easier, I decided to bite off more than I could chew again and went a bit crazy with it. And then I decided to make my life a lot harder and made more modifications to it because I hate myself. Just to make it look like an actual BARYONYX from the film instead of just an Allosaurus with a BARYONYX head. But anyway, I was left with a BARYONYX body without a head, and we're going to be using that today and turning it into something else. So I asked you viewers what I should do. My main two ideas was to turn this into the Jurassic World website BARYONYX or SUCHOMIMUS. The beautiful ones drawn by Julius that guy. I put up a poll and you guys voted for the SUCHOMIMUS. So that's what we're doing today. We're turning this BARYONYX into a SUCHOMIMUS. But it doesn't have a head. What head are we going to use? Well, I decided to make my life really hard again for this project too. So I decided to sculpt one myself from scratch. But not just that, I decided to make a new tail too because the tail on that BARYONYX is silly small. So a nice long tail is added to the list, and then I decided I wanted to go a bit overboard again this time, and well, you'll see what I mean. There really isn't that much reference material for this SUCHOMIMUS in particular, especially multiple angles and such, except Frontier decided to use that design as inspiration for their own SUCHOMIMUS in Jurassic World Evolution. I started to use renders given to me by Luki, who helped with the style guide, so I could use that one as reference. But then later on, I just kind of decided to not follow it as closely and just sort of come up with my own design or sculpt for the head. Let's say I loosely based it on this one. I kind of followed the reference for the SUCHOMIMUS's head, and then I just decided, you know what, I'll just sculpt my own. I'll just make it up. Why not? I very rarely do my own designs on this channel, but you know what? I thought this time I'd do something a bit different. Stretch my designer muscles a bit because after all, I am a character designer. So here we go. I hope you enjoy the video, and just before we get started, I want to announce something quick. My lovely partner Sora has a YouTube channel too. She hasn't uploaded anything at all recently, but she felt inspired recently and she's gonna upload something really soon. It's Jurassic World Rebirth inspired, so if you're interested in that, maybe go and give her a follow and a subscribe, because why not? If you love my content, then you'll love hers too. Anyway, let's start this video. So this is what we have to work with. It's a bit unsightly, and our goal is to make it look somewhat decent. The cat's snoring. Okay, so first things first, I took pictures of this horrendous site so I could import them into Nomad Sculpt. That way I can base my sculpt onto it. I hope you enjoyed this little time lapse here of me sculpting this SUCHOMIMUS head. I started with a sphere. As you can see on the left, I have some reference from Jurassic World Evolution, and on the right you can see me sculpting the head. So the way you go about sculpting, you have to follow three main steps. The first one is to make the generic shape. That includes getting all the dimensions right, the length, the height, and the width. Then the second one is to refine it by blocking out some of the more evident and bigger details. A bit like locating where the fenestre go, where the nostril goes, where the eye goes, and then slowly making your way down to step 3. Step 3 is probably the most tedious, and that is sculpting in all of the fine detail. Sculpting in all of the scales, all the wrinkles in the skin, and all of that lovely stuff. I think step 1 and 2 are the most important steps to nail down first before you move on to step 3. Because a sculpt could have the most beautiful fine detail on it, but if the base shape is a bit off, like the proportions, it just won't look that good in the end. Make sure you put as much effort into every single step as you would for the detailing. The nice thing about digital sculpting though, as opposed to the physical real life one, is that you've got undo buttons, and that helps a lot. Also, you can change a bit of the dimensions even after having detailed things a little bit, to an extent obviously, so that's kind of nice too. So far you saw me sculpt the top part of the head. Now I'm sculpting the bottom jaw. You can see me adding all of these little scales. I did go a little bit overboard with some detailing in some spots, like right there, but it doesn't really matter because once printed, all this detail is going to be very small. And then I did all of the teeth. I sculpted one and then just copied and pasted it all over. On the top jaw and then on the bottom jaw. Again, I didn't follow much reference here. I just kind of made as many teeth as I wanted, which I can guarantee you is not scientifically accurate. But here's the head finished. Next step is the tail. Now the tail was quite simple. I just got a sphere, elongated it, and then just added some detail in there. I tried to match the detail to the original tail, just so it will blend in properly with the rest of the body. And this is the finished tail sculpt. Next, I imported it into Chitubox, the slicing software to prepare sculpts to be printed. I had to chop the tail in multiple sections because my printer isn't big enough and I can't print the tail all in one piece. I put it on the printer and pressed print.
8 hours later. The next day.
The print was successful, so I got the parts, cleaned them up, cured them, glued them together, and here we go. Here we have a nice long tail. I did print the head too, and here it is. I just used standard resin. I didn't pigment it at all. There's no point pigmenting it because we're going to be repainting the whole thing anyway. I wanted this SUCHOMIMUS head to be somewhat accurate in the sense that it is quite skinny compared to a Spinosaurid in the Jurassic Park universe. So I had to alter that base plastic, the mouth plastic right there, for the new head to fit properly. I hope you enjoy this mosquito ASMR. And time to test if it fits, and voila, it does. It fits indeed. So, time to fit the bottom jaw. As you enjoyed the mosquito ASMR from earlier, here's some more. Enjoy. And it all fits, look at that. So, next step is just gluing everything in place. I grabbed some super glue, smothered the mouthpieces with it, and then just pressed the pieces together and let it set. But what's that? Oh, you're telling me you want some more mosquito ASMR? Well, there you go. I noticed that a bit of the bottom jaw was rubbing on the neck part, so I decided to shave it down a little bit. And then I glued the bottom jaw into place. And here we go, I brought in some Milliput. I actually don't remember what I used Milliput for. Oh yes, of course. All right, I had to fill in the gap in the mouth. There you go. I think I use it for something else too. I did this project a few days ago and I forgot. Oh, okay, yes. I'm putting a tiny bit of Milliput on the neck so I can retexture it a tiny bit. A very thin layer, making sure the bottom jaw doesn't rub against it. Then I used a heck ton of Milliput onto the base of the tail so I could secure it properly onto the body. I taped everything together and left it overnight so the Milliput would set and cure rock solid. I then decided to add that part right there. I noticed that the part of the spine between the backside and the tail dipped too much, so I added a bit more Milliput there and sculpted in some detail to match it. I then decided to fix the claws as well. The hand claws are a bit too small, especially the famous big thumb claw that Spinosaurids have. But instead of opening a new packet of Milliput, I decided just to use card and super glue. Now look at this technique right here. Hello? I'm trying to explain something, hold on. So I drew the shape of the claws on some cardboard, I cut it, and then I covered everything with multiple layers of super glue. Like quite a few layers, and then I sanded everything down. So I've got a nice sort of hard plastic claw right here. It worked really well, better than I thought actually. Shut up! I cut off the original claw and then glued on the new one. By the way, if you saw me spray some stuff when I'm gluing, that's just some activator. It makes the super glue harden faster. And then after that, I decided to sharpen the rest of the claws with my scalpel. It looks pretty dangerous, I am cutting towards me, but don't worry, I have plenty of experience with this stuff. And you can see both hands here have the brand new claws. They're all nice and sharp and nice and big. So that's pretty much it with all the modifications right here. Because of all the delaying I've had to do with this video, because of the Jurassic World Rebirth trailer and all of that, I abandoned the idea of modifying the legs a bit too, because they kind of look a bit goofy, and I wanted to get this video out anyway, because I promised it to you guys. And I'm using that as an excuse to not actually go crazy with it, which is probably a good thing. But, did you hear that click? That was my jaw. Ow. Anyway, I added a base color to the figure. It's a nice dark blue, really like that color. And then I'm adding some bright yellow counter shading. I've been following the reference material for the paintwork, and I use that same yellow for the patterns on all of the body, on the face and the main body and the tail too. Enjoy this little time lapse of me painting these yellow patterns. But I didn't quite like the end result. It looked a bit weird on top of the blue, the yellow didn't cover it very well, so I went over it multiple times, like a lot. But then I just felt like it was missing something, so I decided to waste even more of my time and painted the outlines of all the yellow patterns with this orange on every single pattern. I don't know why I'm so shocked I did this, because I've already told you that I hate myself. But I'm quite glad I did this actually, because it does make a heck of a difference. I also decided to paint the crest, because in the original SUCHOMIMUS render or design or whatever you want to call it, the crest isn't yellow, and I thought it looks much better like this. It makes sense for the crest to have some color. So here is what it looks like with all the patterns and the orange on the outlines of the yellow, and I think it looks so much nicer than it did before. This figure has some very nice detailing to it, some nice scales sculpted here and there, so I decided to add a wash to bring out some of that detail. It tones down a little bit of that vibrant color, which adds an extra layer of realism to the figure, in my opinion. Another thing that adds realism is some dry brushing, so I added a nice sort of light grey dry brush on the whole thing, and it brings out so much of the nice detail, especially those nice fine scales I sculpted on the head. See, me sculpting all of those details in wasn't that much of a wasted time now, was it? Here is where I stray away from the reference material the most. I decided to give it some green eyes, because I think green eyes look so good on Spinosaurids. Then I mixed in a dark pinkish color and painted the inside of the mouth. And then I painted the teeth with some off-white, which is just some white paint with a little bit of yellow in it. Then I watered down some black paint and painted the pupils in. I mixed a very, very, very dark brown, almost black, and painted all the claws, including the dew claw, of course. I thought the paint looked a little bit too flat on the claws, so I decided to add a little bit of grey dry brushing to the claws. Then I got a nice bright red and painted in the cuts or scars on the side of the body. And that's pretty much it paint-wise. Then I just sealed everything with some satin lacquer, and then I added some nice gloss lacquer on the eyes, the claws, the nostrils, and the cuts. Oh, and the mouth and the teeth, of course. And here is the end result. a new SUCHOMIMUS with a nice long tail, and a brand new head. This transformation wasn't as ambitious as transforming the Hammond Collection Allosaurus into a BARYONYX. Transforming a Spinosaurid into another Spinosaurid is probably the easiest thing you could do. I'm quite happy I added a little bit more of my own touches to the SUCHOMIMUS, like with a new head that I kinda designed without copying too much, and adding that orange around the yellow patterns is a very nice idea, I think. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Thank you so much for watching.